is almost over and the sun.
Jim, Doc, Martel, welcome, brother. Welcome. Everybody watching, this is Jim, Doc Martel, Operation Ray of Light. Can you, how are you doing, sir?
Doing really good this morning. Really good. It's nice clear day before a storm up here in Maine. So we're just, kind of had a really good day out on the ice yesterday. So, it's nice to be in the warmth for a little bit today and get ready for the week. So, and obviously being with you guys is pretty good too. So.
Are you out there doing ice fishing, or what are you doing out there?
With Operation Ray of Light, what we've been doing is pretty much for the last 7 years is we started off and we're looking at, this time of the year is tough. It's especially in the Northeast, it's brutal, with PTSD or even just depression, looking how things are cold outside and, people get bogged down and especially with our veteran guys, and their families. And, when it's cold, there's not a lot of push to get the heck outside. So, we take and started real small, just a few guys, equipment and whatnot. And now, this past weekend we had, in the last 2 weeks, we were out there ice fishing. We had, last week, I think between vets and family, we had 15 people on the ice last weekend. We had 12 this weekend. So we get out there, we raise our funding. We provide all the food. We provide all the traps, the bait. We've got some great supporters that will help us out there. And then we just provide the skill and, get out there together. And it's kind of like a big veteran commune on the ice with their families, building up the kids. And sometimes it's cool because you got a vet that might not want to get out, but once you hook the kids in, you're good to go. Cause then they're like, Mom, let's go. Dad, let's go, So it's building a community,
Nice. Yeah, it looks that's something I'd love to experience, man. I'd love to come out there to Maine and experience that. I've never been like ice fishing. I might have did like some local fishing, for some like carp or some bass or something, but nothing. What are you guys out there catching?
It depends on the lake. We're in the Sebago Lakes region of Maine, which is kind of like the southern portion. So this year we've had kind of sketchy ice. Just haven't had the big water get frozen up yet. So, we'll get out there. And yesterday we were on a trout pond, small trout pond that we had that were loaded with brook trout. There were some brown trout. Those were kind of elusive. Bass and pickerel. It's pretty much usually around here, it's a lot of trout that we're trying to get, but you get your bass, your pickerel, your perch, things like that. And it's not all about the catching. We can go out there and, not catch a thing and still have a good time, because it's all it's really the brotherhood. It's everybody, it's seeing the kids. It's a family,
Yeah, it's not the destination, it's the journey, So yeah. I totally agree with you, man. You're just out there having a blast with all the veterans and their families. And it's about the brotherhood. It's about coming together, doing something. And if you catch something, you catch something, that's a bonus. But yeah, just out there goofing off, having fun, trying to put some bait on your hook, maybe helping your bro out if he thinks he caught something like maybe an old tire, and he thinks it's a fish. So,
well, yeah, this is like this is a good place for it's one of those deals. You get a lot of people with different. We work with. We'll have anybody who has any connection with service. We also sometimes will have law enforcement, firefighters, first responders out with us. But we have some people, like myself, who are never deployed. We have people that were. It's a brotherhood of everybody. And then when somebody's doing better in some ways, or someone's having a harder time, there's another brother or sister that can pick them up. So, and some people are having, we don't know what the journey is that somebody has, or what they're going through. And sometimes, you'll be out there on the ice and you got, 3 or 4 people that are over there talking and they got their group and they're talking. Then everybody's, once you break out the food, everybody forms around that area, and it's just one of those things that people are getting support and it's pushing people outside and building those community and the connection. And, then you get people are sending messages back and forth all week or, hey, what's up with the fishing? And, it's really something we tried to build up into. Right now is the ice fishing season, but it's really something about building up the whole year round, with other fishing opportunities or pontoon boat days or, it's a lot of that building it up to, with the experience of being a kid of a veteran with PTSD, experiencing the loss through the 22 of my dad and my grandfather. One of those things is realizing that the lack of what they had in World War II after Vietnam, the lack of supports, and really, not just having that ability to connect and living rurally where we don't have any posts left around here. There's no military installations left in Maine. There's no, don't even want to get me going on trying to help somebody find a TRICARE provider up here. There's just nothing there. So you're kind of on your own, yet we got guard units and reserve units that are getting deployed. Every unit in our state's been deployed probably 2 to 3 times in the last 20 years. So you got these people who are having these experiences, yet they don't have their brothers to decompress or work down or break things down with. So, what we have been able to do is create that spot where they've got it.
Yeah. Everybody needs something to come home to, especially, if they serve their country and stuff, they need good medical care first off. So, yeah, man, if they're not getting what they need, I can see why a lot of guys are having problems that they have, and they're not getting fixed. There's nobody helping, mend these guys broken wings. These guys, and when it comes to mental health, not all scars, not all are visible. So if a guy's been going through some stuff mentally, you're not going to see it.
And I think it's kind of helped out in a certain way that we've been able to. I think there's a certain piece of destigmatizing mental health support because we've got, within. I come out of the background. The whole reason where I, after college, graduate school, after I got out of the Guard, one of those things when my father, who was a Vietnam veteran, started seeking mental health support. Post 9/11, there was a lot of things that started triggering up for him, and just a whole slew of things. And when he reached out and started getting help, I was like, maybe I ought to go take and become a counselor, be able to do that. And we don't do a lot of counseling with Ray of Light; it's more of a second tier thing. But I built the knowledge base with, really inspired by my dad. Realizing not just my dad, it was a loss of my whole family, him and all my aunts and uncles going through, what it was to be, to lose a parent as part of the 22. And then, when God knows, I never expected that would have happened with my dad down the pipe, but it certainly makes you really, I guess, more than motivated to reach the heck out and get as many people out there and, and gaining as much knowledge as we can, being in the field. I just started doing a training for helping out guardsmen and reservists and really totally focused. Those guys are getting deployed left and right and trying to find the best ways we can help them and their families, things that my dad, my granddad never had. And I'm glad that we're finally, hopefully, going to break down the door for all of these guys. I say the kids, any veteran under 40's got to be a kid, because just a little bit younger and I look at guys that I went to high school with that have come out with Ray of Light, 2 years younger than me, same guard units, and in my 7+ years no deployments, these guys in freaking 4 years get deployed twice, and just the luck of the draw, how things work. And we need to be able to take and build things and connections. And you know what, if somebody's looking for mental health outside the VA, or they're trying to figure out how to work the system, it's kind of cool now because, you know, we've got guys that work with us that have done programs like home base program for intensive outpatient, or, you know, have done work. So we know a lot within our network of how to bring people in together, how to hook people in and figure out what what there might be for options or opinions, you know, and even people struggling, you know, it's just one of those things. There's a place of connection, you know?
Yeah, it's all about making connections, you know, with your fellow vets and making sure that there's hope for them. And, you know, for the 22 out there, the 22 veterans who are committing suicide, you know, every day, we're trying to uh, get them help. So that number goes from 22 to 0. So, and that's what we do here. And I know you said with your father and grandfather, they went through that.
They did. My grandfather my dad was 14. His siblings, the oldest at the time we lost my grandfather was 16. The youngest was 4 or 5. And my grandfather was with the 24th Infantry Division out in the Pacific, and he was with, you know, all those campaigns all the way from New Guinea all the way up through the end of the war. And, you know, and he had experienced certain things. I never got to see some of this stuff until after my grandmother passed, after my father had. But, you know, he was 41 years old. And, you know, I first learned that when I was 12 from my father, you know, what had happened, you know, and he was having a real hard go. And there was a lot going on. And back then the deal was, you know, go up to the VA, you know, get a week's worth of medication or whatever, a little bit of treatment, go back home. And there just wasn't a lot of understanding of a treatment process. There wasn't a whole lot of a treatment process. And so my dad lost his dad at 14. Go forward.
Oh my God. Oh,
you know, and then
I'm sorry to hear that, brother.
It was, and then, you know, the thing is too, is I look at it's from a family perspective, is looking at how that has impacted, you know, every one of the siblings, you know, every one of his siblings. And you look at it, you know, when we lose a veteran to PTSD, not only do we have a significant, there's a presence lost. There is anxieties and all of these things that come up within the family, these developments going down the pipe. You know, obviously, you know, my dad's, you know, kids that are, you know, when you lose a parent and you're younger, you know, people under 20, 21 years old, your chances of suicide go up. And, you know, one of those deals is, you know, at 63, my father took his life, and it was one of the most, obviously, even being an adult, it was one of the most profound shifting life changes for my entire family. And I just, you know, it's me and my mother, my brother, we said this part of the reason of founding Operation Ray of Light was that we couldn't foresee people feeling so disconnected and being in a spot where that was the only option. And you know, my dad had done, he had done great work with the VA. He had done a lot of programs. He had connected and done so many things, but there was just the one piece I think that was missing was that community aspect, the connection, you know, especially as somebody gets older, you know, and they're just that community thing. I mean, he was the type of guy too that would go in and go over to the readjustment clinic for the VA and bring a big old box of Joe and leave it there a couple times a month, you know, because he felt that was his one place where he really felt connected. You know, and there's also the piece, I think, of growing up as a kid of PTSD. We didn't quite know why dad didn't get along well with others. You know, it was kind of, he did well with us. He was always gung-ho on taking care of the family and doing the things like most of our brothers and sisters are. But, you know, we knew that there were things that were there, but nobody, you know, there weren't options for people taking and saying, hey, man, you know, we can help you. So, you know, I mean, there's a huge growth process. And, you know, I'm glad that we have been able to reach out to the people that we have. We're a small organization, but you know what? There's really the other piece I think is instead of taking and looking at veterans from I think there's a lot of connection with disabilities and looking at this and looking at that. And one of these deals is I don't give a crap what happened, where you were, you are something, you have huge value. Every veteran has a huge value to their community. Some of the biggest people, I mean, my father and my grandfather were probably, I never met my grandfather, and he's still one of the most profound. Those two are the most profound people for my entire life and the development of being, as I look, where I am now and where I want to be is, trying to take that 22 and bust the crap out of it down to nothing, because those kids and the families and the connections, we need to really look at that and be able to help out people, and it comes down to empowering people, empowering veterans and empowering families, building them up. And even if you feel like everything, it's kind of like, and you're, when you're in the trenches and you're taking, you're down there, just having somebody to be with you, and be like, it's going to be all right. And we got this, we embrace the suck and let's get through it. And we're together,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when you're down in the trenches, you need your battle buddy with you. So, I know when your father was going through what he was going through, we can't imagine what he was feeling at that time, the pain, the agony, and like what led to him complicating, and doing that. But if there would have been some kind of help back then, maybe a program or something. Now it seems like there's a lot of programs and stuff for people to try to, if they are feeling suicidal, they can come talk about it. But back then, I don't know what year your grandfather was around, but guys like that probably didn't talk about that. They probably held their emotions to themselves.
Right. That generation, you're going into the site of shell shock is weakness. Talking about even, there's still parts within our military culture. Obviously we're taught to take and embrace pain, work through it, get to where we need to, mission first, person second, and my grandfather passed in 66, January of 66. My father, it was 2015. I do think there was an interesting piece too where with my dad, there's a looking at each generation, and it's a part of, I remember being a young kid reading up the Time Life books on Vietnam just to try to understand what dad had been doing, which, because we weren't getting a whole heck of a lot. And, when I went into the reserves, I got a little bit of some, he started to open up a little bit, but I think one of those deals too is, these kind of, you get into a spot too, where you're raising your families, you're in your 40s and 50s, stuff like that. There's a lot to keep you busy. And look at, where my dad got to be in the 60s. And yeah, he had grandkids and there were different things. But, these guys, he always had said, there's all these places for veterans. They all include alcohol. And he's like, I don't need to be going out. And when I can hang out and have a beer here, I don't need to go out to the, X, Y, and Z and just have alcohol. If I want to go out with veterans, I want to do something, where I don't have to. And that's one of those things, embracing people wherever they're at. And I think having, looking at, when we have the pontoon boat day, we embrace people do their own thing. But one of those deals is, what, you're going out and the focus is the activity. It's not about whatever, people can come out and, we're on the ice, we push heavy responsibility. You take care of your thing, but we take care of each other. Everybody takes and embraces, it's not a designated bar type deal. Now we've got these places where you got programs out here for hunting and fishing and we've got our coffee and conversation down that we do once a week at our office in Sanford. And it's just a place where vets can come up. We had a guy come in last week, new guy, and he's like, "Oh, I can bring my wife here." I'm like, "Yeah, you can take your wife here." Yeah, it's this is veterans and spouses, coffee and conversation. Come hang out. Get the heck out of the house. And he's like, "Oh, cool. My wife's my caregiver, and she's been helping me out with, she basically helps me out with everything. And, I'm like, well, yeah, bring her down here. I mean, we can, there's a certain place of embracing the family too. And, and that it's not a solo thing. If you really think about it, the experience of PTSD, I think my mom was always my father's rock, 40 plus years married, and that was a huge support there. And, so, I mean, looking at all of this is what do we have now? What can we build now? And being able, I think there's also a mindset for veterans being able to take, and if you can get them into like an activity, like I think about it yesterday, one of my guys was out there and he says, he just kind of pulls off to the side. We're about to leave. And he's like, gives me a hug. And he's like, if you end up doing this program, I want to, if there's a way I can log in or something for coffee and conversation, talk to you guys, just kind of just being able to engage, or whatever, or in which case we're always trying to come up with new stuff. It's only based on limitations of people and technology and figuring these things out. But, you get other people that are like, it's just trying to, I think these connective activities bring people into the fold, and if I can take and utilize the knowledge that I have from my career, being a counselor, connect somebody into some service or supports or help them feel more confident in getting, supports. I think it demystifies. Some people take a look at doc and they are, counseling and they think shrink. And that's not what we want to do. I mean, that's never what we want to do. I don't want to be looked at like that, I mean, or people think we're only going to psychoanalyze. If we're out on the ice, there's no time for psychoanalysis. We're trying to catch freaking fish and, that deal, So I think demystifying mental health for veterans. And, in all honesty, I look at the work that my dad did. And I think with his work with the VA, we got, we probably, when he had his first issues in 2000 or bigger, there's always baseline issues that, growing up, we never kind of really understood because that's what we grew up with. But in 2001, when he started getting the sports, he did some IEP work with the VA and things like that. That probably, got him another 14 years, and really extended. Whereas my grandfather, didn't have any of those supports. And now the younger guys that are, were in Iraq, Afghanistan, served in these periods, there's a lot out there, there's a lot of opportunities. And if you can't find them in your own state, reach out to some of the other stuff. Cause I know up here in Maine, we've got us, but we got like 6 or 7, we're connecting with other organizations that are doing, hunts and fish and all this different stuff, trying to take and use what we got. And we're talking back and forth. I mean, we were trying last week, we were supposed to have ice. Go ahead.
So that's your therapy, ice fishing, not medicine, not a doctor, not the VA, but going out together and bonding, and that's your medicine. That's your therapy.
And if it comes down, there are, I would say here's one of those deals, in recovery when my father passed, obviously I needed a pretty heavy duty. I needed some support because if I was going to take and maintain doing counseling and doing the work that I kind of found a therapist that did a lot of trauma work. And I said, you're going to have to keep me from being a lumberjack because I might just go in a job where I don't have to think at all. And good therapy does help, and it's important, and medication management can be important. It really, every individual has their own journey, but the community and the therapeutic process too, that we use with Ray of Light, it's all about, your talk, your therapy is on the ice when you got a coffee in your hands or cocoa, you're hanging out there and we're waiting for the next flag. And, and people are talking about, oh yeah, when I was at Fort Hood, this, and this, or, I remember being, when we did this part, or people, and sometimes people, will really get into, some of the guys are having, they feel comfortable enough. Men and women are bringing up stuff that they're like, when this IED did this or whatever, and they're sharing their stuff and they're opening up on a level, and, and the deal is it's a complementary piece to other treatment. If people got to go, I got nothing against the VA. I think they got great programs. There's a lot there, and they have, the ability to do certain things. I think that's stuff that, we can't do medication management. You know what? Somebody needs a little bit of antidepressant to help them rock on. You do what you need to do to take care of you, soldier.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're doing an intensive outpatient program down at Brockton. Do it, man. Get yourself what you need. Get tactical, get practical, get back to your family. And you know what? And when you come back, let's throw a fishing rod in your hand. Let's get out on the lake and let's make things happen, and we got your back. You get your brothers and sisters here. Let's get out and, if you need, you need what you need, and it's kind of even being able to take and refer. We've done a lot up here with referring spouses over to some of the VA spousal groups. And that, I'll tell you what, that's really cool. Like women, men and women are, of course, nowadays, our force is different than it once was. Somebody being able to get into a support group and talking about, how it is to work with their prior service spouse or veteran that dealt with different things and trying to grow from each other. I mean, that's huge. These are things that they didn't have for my dad's generation, that they didn't have for my grandfather. And these are the things that we can help people feel connected, even them, having them feel connected, it makes them feel too more connected to their veterans. And, I look at veterans as a huge freaking asset. I mean, veterans are, there's so few of, the 1%, I think, is one of those things.
Non-expendable. Veterans are non-expendable.
Yeah. They are not. And I think the experience, I grew up around all these, my dad's, the people he felt closest with, obviously were other guys that had, especially for him, it was other Vietnam veterans. And as he got older, it was other, other guys and men and women that were in service. And those were the connections. But 90% of what I learned about character and things like that, were, having a Navy SEAL Scoutmaster, in the troop that I became an Eagle Scout in, learning from them, or I think about all the Scoutmasters that we had that were in the Army or Vietnam. And these guys, it's funny because, you end up 40 years, 30 years, you go out. And when we started Operation Ray of Light, these were the guys who were like, hey, hold on. They were working with the AMVETs and the VFW. Let's give these guys money to get them started up. Let's get this going, because this is boots on the ground freaking work that we're doing. We get the monies, we get the club, we can do things and make money, and let's get these guys off the ground. And that's something else, and I think about it, that experience of being able to bring, in Maine, we got 1 out of every 11 people in the state of Maine that served in the military somewhere. We're a small state, but we got a heavy duty veteran presence. But we also, it's building those connections are huge.
Yeah, it's getting together. It's getting a rod. It's getting out there with Operation Ray of Light, and being with your brothers and sisters out there on the water and fishing, getting to know each other, getting the bond, and just getting your mind off things, having a moment where you don't have anything on your mind, if that's possible for some people who are going through stress and anxiety. They're tired of thinking about bad things happening, about the past and stuff like that. So for them to get out there and be able to connect with you, Jim, is amazing. It's really amazing what you guys are out there doing for your fellow veterans. And giving them a ray of light, at their darkest day, or the darkest night, you're just giving them a ray of light. And, I know so many people appreciate what you're doing for them, Jim. Yeah, really amazing.
It's a powerful experience. I think, being able to, it's humbling. I think about the people that I've met over the last 7 years, and I think there's also a healing process, I think, that comes down all of us that have experienced, like obviously there's a pretty significant loss with my, with dad and whatnot. And I think, when that happened, we threw, my family, we kind of threw everything into it. And, I just think about I can think about, I got my soldiers that we talk to on a daily basis. I got one of my guys, he calls me his emotional support medic, and he helps out with my program. He's like he doesn't have an emotional support dog. He has his emotional support medic, and and we're always coming up with what the next, okay, where's the ice here? Where's this? And, just having a really cool positive piece, and like you said, it is ray of light, it is building this place when, it's going to appear. And even, and even doing this, I mean, sometimes it appears to be dark. There's a lot of stuff that's tough. And, and there's stuff that, in life that's just really tough. And, but I think, it's the darkest days right now and that we're going to have all year long. And that was one of the big things with the ice. It's like, okay, well, if it's cold and it's miserable, unless you spend time at Fort Drum, people just, people understand, cold, and they don't want to get out. But then when we take and throw them in a shack, we got heaters, we got a kid right now with this Eagle Scout project building this like 8x12, disability accessible ice shack so that hopefully we can get our brothers and sisters out there who don't have the mobility. It's going to have a whole ramp on it so we can get them right up in there, I mean, this is stuff, like looking at the future, and it gets you excited, and darkness is trying to find the light. And it's like, what? You imagine, we got guys now that are like, it'd be cool when we can get some of our, wheelchair vets out there, or maybe we can go bust some people out of the, we got a senior veteran, so maybe we can bust a few of them out, for the day and get them out jigging a little bit or something, just being able to have these things, and the only thing it's all about just keeping and building and coming up with new ideas. We'd love to get you, you in Jersey? Is that where you're at?
Yeah, Jersey.
Oh, we always love taking and getting people that have not been on the ice. I mean, Jersey is fun. Floridians are even better. Just get somebody up there and it starts doing something. But I mean, we have we had a vet from Washington State come out with us, and he moved up to this part. He started bass fishing with us over the summer, and we just started talking because he works out at my gym, and he starts bass fishing, having a great time out there. We got him out last weekend. He's like, kind of a little sketching, checking out the ice. He's like, but if you guys are out there, you're all, all right, Doc's heavier than me. I ain't going through, so, but I mean,
yeah.
And then you got people who are like, I've looked at veterans that we've had out with us that will have isolated for years in their own little ice hut or whatever. And you can see progress because they're like, they're opening the doors to other people to come in their shacks and spend time with them, and that's where it's kind of cool because you can see that type of progress, and embracing everybody where they're at,
Yeah, exactly. I know. Hey, what's up with the handicap? What if you guys have like a big sled, like a homemade sled? How far do you guys have to commute to the water from like the city?
It really depends. It really depends on location. A couple of years ago, I purchased a side-by-side from another guy who had helped out with some veteran events. So I purchased a side-by-side that had tracks on it. And from where I live, there's a small pond. It's a nice little trout pond, but it's a half mile in on trails. So sometimes you might have to take people in, a half mile, something like that. Sometimes like where the ice has been sketchy this year, we've got, we're always looking at different ponds and trying to feel out what might be available. Yesterday we were on a pond that had kind of not necessarily easy, but it had access to the road. So we were able to get down in there, and that wouldn't have been one that we couldn't have gotten somebody in on, a sled or skis. But I mean, it really depends. If we go out, the biggest lake, second largest lake in the state of Maine is right out my door here. And if we're fishing and we had a foot of ice on it, we could be a half mile out or 3/4 of a mile out on the lake. So, we've worked over the last couple of years, we get different volunteers that have put together snowmobiles. We've acquired, a bunch of gear. I mean, actually, it's kind of cool. We got a big old fire pit on skis we'll put out there, and that ends up becoming it's pretty cool. You get the fire pit going, and, it becomes like the communal spot. Sometimes we get different veterans that are hunting or whatever, and they'll bring their, moose or deer or whatever, we'll cook it right up there on the grill, and it becomes, that community. But it really depends. I mean, different places, like we had to really, this year has been a real struggle finding ice. we just have not had the cold weather up here that we normally would. So, we've got a few spots where we know that it's easy access and, we can be on the ice in like 30, 40, 50 yard walk. We know where we've got some spaces like that. So we really have tried to, when we don't have the snow and we can't move people around, okay, well, let's find what's closest and what we can get out there on. But once we get the snow or we get good ice, then we can get we can do a lot more places, a lot more opportunities, We just purchased ourselves a trailer for the side-by-side. I mean, literally, if we can find good ice, we were thinking this year if we would have had a foot of ice out on Sebago Lake, we would have had that 8x10 shack, 8x12 disability shack out there. I have another one we just built. We got a bunch of portables. We would have had a whole, we could have had 25, 30 people out there fishing, big old veteran commune,
Yeah.
I mean,
the trailers, though, are they on tires or do they have to be like a sled, a trailer on a sled?
It depends. Like to move, like when we move, it's like, okay, like the ice shacks themselves stay over here at my place. We've got to get those on a regular trailer, like a regular flatbed or whatever, to get them over to the ice. Then everything's on skis. So, you've got trailer hitches and stuff for snowmobiles or for four-wheelers with, or like my side-by-side, I can put the tracks on. So there's a lot of moving parts sometimes to it. We're working
like
with
ski
another
track,
brother.
like a ski track almost.
Yeah, we have the side-by-side I have is really cool. Actually, that's what we're going to do today. I got we're going to take my side-by-side. I can take the wheels off and put the tracks on. And then it allows us to access some land over here with some fishing ponds on it the land is only accessible by either ski track. So we'll put the tracks on that, which is going to open up some new opportunities to us in the next week. I mean, there's a lot of, that's the thing, and we
some
get
good fishing spots.
Excuse me? No. We're always looking at opportunities.
Oh, a good fishing spot.
Yeah. There's some, around here is kind of one of those things we spend out, during the summertime, we're looking at the stocking report for the state, checking out where they're putting the fish, what ponds. They just put 300 browns over here. They just put in 1,000 brookies here. We usually try to keep due diligence on that stuff, but as it gets colder, it looks like we're going to get a little cooler this week, and hopefully we'll open up more options and opportunities. But we also this year we hope to build ourselves a sled. We want to build a sled so that when we get like we got a friend of ours, one of our veterans who we met through another organization when we were doing a fishing trip. And, he's an older guy. He doesn't have his legs anymore, but he loves to fish. And, we've got a group that's got a sled that they built. So hopefully they're going to let us do a little reverse engineering on that so that we can have that. And when he wants to come out, we can hook him up behind a snowmobile and drag his butt out there and get him on his good, put him on a good fishing spot. And, I don't know. I would think from that perspective too, I talking to this soldier, he was like, that'd be awesome, man. I'll have my own sled get pulled out, things where people haven't had that independence and autonomy and also being able to, there's just something about being out with your brothers, and people that, if you look at snow, you think about all the limitations, and instead of looking at limitations, we want to look at the options and opportunities. How can we make this like, I don't want to have a guy sitting in a wheelchair in his apartment at home. If he can come out with us, dude, let me know. Let's get you. If you got a caregiver that helps you out, whatever, let's get both of you out there. Let's get out on the frickin' ice. Let's figure out what we can do. It's just the kid that's building this ice shack though. He went totally. It's a friend of one of my Marine friends, and I said, this is an idea we had for an Eagle Scout project. If you want to take it on, it's huge. Keeping it lightweight, high speed, low drag, making it so that we could get it moved place to place easy and it wouldn't get stuck. And this kid, Xavier, he's just kind of taken it and gone full bore with it. And, he had them modify and put the ramp so it builds right into this shack. And hopefully, hopefully we get enough ice by the end of February where we can use the thing, but
Yeah.
it's just, networking and church with other groups and other people. It's an awesome thing, with the purpose of, we got these 11, one out of every 11 people in our state. And it would be cool someday to, be able to come up with a spot where we could put somebody up from New Jersey in a hotel room or something like that, so they could come out and hang out with us for, come hang out for a weekend and go fishing, or take them out cusk fishing at night on an ice shack at night,
Wow. Yeah, that would be nice right there.
That's a cool one. I'll tell you what, cusk fishing is one of my Marines hooked us up with these lights to put on the traps. And last year we got to use those. We went out at night. We had like 6 pickups pulled onto the this boat launch locally. And we started 4:00. I went down, picked up the coffee at Dunkin'. That's like our big thing up here. Picked up the coffee. We're all hanging out there. We got traps out. And as the sun comes down, it looked like a landing strip going down for C-130 right down the ice. Just all these green lights going the whole darn way. It was awesome. And then we're hanging out there, and I'm like, all right, guys, so we're going to call in the pizza now, so we got, what is it, like 10 vets, a bunch of their families. We call up, we get pizza delivered down there, and we're hanging out, eating pizza, fishing for, night fishing for the last fishing trip of the year, just taking it. It's that camaraderie and community, make the best you can with whatever you get. At that point, we had it was probably, I think that was the last trip we had last year. It was when the ice was really starting to get. It was still good, but it was heading out. So we were right there on shore with the trucks, and it was a pretty cool experience there.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'd like to be out there. And when you're giving lemons, you got to make lemonade. So for you guys could be in this making slushies, huh? With all the ice.
We could. Oh yeah, slushies. I mean, there's no problems with refrigeration. That's all right. But it's cool too. As you look at it, like yesterday, the oldest veteran we had out with us, he come out 94 years old. Okay. World War II veteran. He's one of the few that's left, and his grandson served in Afghanistan, and and so we had 3 generations over there on the ice with us. Bob comes down. I joke around. We love Bob. He works out at my gym. He's one of the most positive veterans you'll ever meet in your life, and Bob comes down, meets us right around noontime to hang out for a few hours. 94 years old, hanging out on the ice for a couple hours. Grandson and his great grandson, and and it's just it's so we had a stretch right there for 7 decades. Our youngest guy's 30, and that's really cool stuff.
Yeah, 3 generations, man. I mean, it doesn't get no better than that.
Oh yeah, our guy, my buddy there, had his 2 kids with him. Tech, had his 2 kids, and then of course he was out there, and his grandfather Bob comes out. It was awesome, I mean, getting to see, like the whole stretch, from, and it's kind of cool because Bob's really kind of, he's a pretty good guy, chill, all that stuff, and we try to figure out where our other guy, our buddy, come from, because when it comes to fishing, he's militant. His grandson, and Bob starts telling, when TJ was like this, he'd do this, and he'd wake me up at 3 a.m. to go fishing. We can see why that happened. We can see what's going on because we got and it's the thing really with fishing. It's like on the ice, it's embracing them all. It's kind of it's kind of one of those things. You got people that are gonna like run and put their traps way over there, and then there's kind of like me and some of the other guys are a little bit a little more chill. We're like, okay, let's just pop the traps and rock and roll here, and where's the coffee, But I mean, it embraces everything for everybody,
Yeah. So ice fishing is kind of like crabbing then. You said
never
trap.
done that. Yeah, you got 2 ways of doing it. It's there's trapping. So we got all these like You take the traps, they got the hooks, you pop them in the there. It's got a flag on it, and usually if something hits it, the flag comes out. So that's kind of like this whole intermittent like excitement, like hold on, flag, and you get
Like, no,
everybody running.
I got it. Yeah, running across the ice and stuff with your
Well,
coffee and
yeah, it is.
pizza.
You get the vet
Yeah.
kids. We get the kids, and sometimes the kids are out there and they get their own traps. They're running them. A lot of
Yeah.
times some of the staff guys like me and some of the other ones, we're not so much. I mean, if I got a chance to hook into a nice fish yesterday, and we had it's just about being out there, and yeah, when the flag comes up, everybody's running, unless like
Like, whoa.
unless it's way over there, in which case it's like I got to keep an eye
Yeah,
on
you
the
got
top
that
rope.
one. Yeah, you can have that one.
You got it, bro. Go for it. Usually that's the airborne. They're running way the heck down the far
That
end.
must be your fish.
Yeah, they want to go. They want to go fish 300 yards away. You guys have at it. Rock on, man. But
Yeah.
I mean, and there's also a process of using a small pole called a jig pole. Where you get down in there and you jig, and we got like these. I call it fish TV. We got these fish sonar now that you can put in your shack, and you can they tell you approximately
nice.
where. It's like it's kind of fish finders for the ice. So we had a gentleman donate towards that last year, and we got that put in. So, and of course, if you want a good lesson on it, you take the vet kids who are 12, 13 years old. They know how to run anything electronic, and they'll come over and say, "Oh yeah, this is how you do this, and this."
It's a video game. It's a video game for them. They get to get their fish find on.
It is, and it's really cool because you're getting these kids too. These when you get out there. I mean, it's kind of the big video game kind of process is like, all right, ice fishing is kind of a cool transfer from the indoor gaming kind of thing because it is a big game. Where are you going to put your traps? Okay, are we going to carpet bomb over here with traps because we think that's where the fish are? Or are we going to do put this in strategically? What are we going to do? What's the game? Do we stick or do we move? And it's one of the things. It's the other thing is, I think it's kind of a cool thing is there's a mindful experience in being outside, slowing things. Like when you're ice fishing, it's not always flag. There's a place where it's like, wow, it's kind of quiet here. We're just trying to keep, we get the heaters going, just kind of like a quiet presence, the sun's coming off the trees in a certain way, or you're looking and you see some different things. Yesterday I always love it when we see when we're out there, and I always think about you'll see on our gear a lot of times we get the eagles with ray of light, and that was my dad's big thing. The eagle was the biggest thing for my family, and we were out there on this beautiful little pond called Deer Pond yesterday, and all of a sudden they're like, hey Doc, you might want to hide your fish. I said, what do you mean? He says, the eagle's right there. The eagle's right there. And there's a bald eagle flying right up over the area. And it's like, that's like the presence of the, Dad being out there with us, or my gramps, and just having that presence and, and connection. And it's like, it's a powerful thing, being able to see these things and be out there, just being able to slow down from life, or be able to just, I love it. We got one of our Navy, she was a corpsman, and she's like, all right, first of all, there's way too many dudes here. Okay. So she goes, she all of a sudden, she was hanging out with us one time, and then she's like, I know what I need. She went and bought her own ice shack. So she buys this beautiful, buys herself her portable. She gets in there and she's like, I'm going to take and do this, and I'm going to do that. We go out this year. This is her third year out there, her daughter fishing. Now she's got a fold-up couch inside of her ice shack. She's got a table with all of her stuff in there. She's got the heater, the lights. It's like the Taj Mahal thing out there of ice shacks. And it's like, her and her daughter are awesome, I mean, it's just, and once you get into it, there's so many different opportunities. And she's really, her and the kid have embraced it. They get their little ice traps, have little, the Jolly Rogers on them, the skull and crossbones on their little trap flags. And, and it's just one of those things, mom came off. It was cool because she came off a shift doing her job. So she was a little tired yesterday. The kids out fishing, bouncing all over the place with us. Mom's got a jig pole in the shack and taking a snooze. Rock on, whatever works, man.
Nice.
I mean, to each, everybody has, it's kind of making it comfortable and doing whatever, embracing everybody where they're at, And that's the thing too.
Yeah.
I mean, we love getting out, it's just one of those things, getting out the, that's one thing, looking more and more for like trying to be able to get out our female soldiers and, service members too, and finding these opportunities. And, it's one of those things, you think about it, there's I think I was reading the other day in the reserves and guard, we're now at like 20%, right around 20% female service members. So, that's 1/5 of the force, So being able to take and embrace them and get them out too is huge, And I'll tell you what, we get some pretty, and some of them are really good at it and they enjoy it, and that's great,
Yeah, everybody needs to go ice fishing, get their mind off stuff, So hopefully through your program, Operation Ray of Light, you can give everybody a reaching hand and help them deal with their anxiety and stress and everything else they're going through. And yeah, that's really amazing, Doc. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, for everybody watching, Jim, Doc, Martel, he lost his grandfather to suicide, and so to have you on here, you're a family member of survivors or of somebody who lost somebody. It's really amazing to hear your story and stuff like that, because the work that you're doing it because of your grandfather. It seems like that's your passion.
And father.
That's what gives you your passion, and your father.
Yeah. It's, our thing when my mother and my brother, when we started this in my mom's living room, not basically trying to come up with a concept of, not long after we lost Dad, it was, if we can stop one, then that's good. And I know, I'm glad, over the last couple of years, there's been definitely several people that, I know of, and that's the thing, you learn what you know of, and then there's a lot that you don't know of, I mean, which is fine. I don't want to, I don't need to know everything, but I know that through the program, we've been able to take and intervene at times and, be there and help a veteran get some of what they need. And I mean, early on going up and, me and some of the other guys taking and getting somebody up to the hospital and then, going up and visiting with them and, just providing them a place where, dude, when you get out of the hospital, you come on over here, we'll come down to the office Tuesday. Let's hang out. We'll have a coffee once you get out, or, we'll come up and visit you on Thanksgiving. That way we're going to bust you out of the VA hospital on Thanksgiving. And we'll go get you lunch, and that way you can take it. We'll talk to the kids and all that stuff, whatever we can do, trying to meet people, and understanding everybody's got a struggle, and we'll work with that, I mean, it's kind of funny because I think about the guys, too, like, guys that are, I had one guy who was in the Maine Air Guard, and he's like sending me a message from, he was in Kenya at the time. He's like, hey, this ice fishing thing, will that be going on when I get off of my deployment? Because he was in Kenya at the time, not Djibouti. And he's like, I'm like, yeah, man, you can come out with us. Let's see. Well, let me know when you get off deployment. And he got right into the ice fishing, and he's come out. And then last year we got him into hunting with us, starting to learn how to go out and do some hunting stuff. And he was all motivated. And it's like, it's just, when we can hook up, I had a guy at Gitmo who was, hey, what's going on? I'm following your webpage. I'll be back home in, I'll be back home in a few months. When I get up there, I want to come over to the office or whatever, and it's like, that's kind of cool too, when we know, like, you're getting stuff from halfway across the globe, or somebody's doing something and they're looking, I want to go ice fishing with you, or I want to I want to come over to the office for my haircut, or a free haircut or whatever, and coffee and just hang out. And, that's those connections that I think, if we really think about what's going to bring down the 22 is going to be all about connection. It's connection, it's love, it's embrace, it's having, just having this, if you think about it, working in mental health as long as I have been, the biggest piece where people, I say the depressed brain is the biggest liar on the planet. It just deceives people into feeling unloved and unworthy. And I know that some of the stuff we learned after the fact with my father and my grandfather, it was that it really was these struggles that were not for them, were very real, but we, knew of them, but not at the level of what was going on, because there's always a postscript to everything. So, all right, you know what, if you're with us, or you're taking and following, or you're doing whatever, you're connected, and that's really building these bonds and connection, and hey, if you're not into the ice, we'll find something else. Come on out, and you know what, you want to take and come out and, you don't like the cold. Well, normally we don't get cold. We got pretty good ways to keep it going, hey, you want to come out for a couple hours, come out for a couple hours. I joke around and say sometimes some people just show up for lunch, that's all right. Veterans like to eat and drink coffee. It is what it is, Yeah. But it's building that connection. If we feel connected and bonded, our chances of taking and going down the road of suicide are less. It's just the way it's gonna, and that's where these connective activities are huge,
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. That's what we do here. We try to connect and come together to do suicide prevention, and get that 22 down to 0. And we can't do it alone. It's going to take all of us to come together and try to save as many lives, veterans' lives, as possible. Because 22 a day is and some people say it's higher, some people say it's lower. A guy the other day told me it was a little bit higher, but we don't know the true number. We don't know exactly every veteran, if they're classified as a suicide when they die. Some of them might have died from something
overdoses,
else. But exactly. So
other things too.
Mm-hmm. So to pinpoint the exact number it's difficult, but the number that they're coming up with is 22, and so but one veteran a day is too many. 22 is ridiculous. And if the number is higher than that, then that's insane. And something needs to be fixed. If there's a way to just bring more joy to people, happiness, let people know they're not alone, that there's people who love them and care about them, and there's a support channel for them. And there's some people that they can call and talk to when they're down and out and they're not feeling good, then we can try to start saving some lives and giving some people some hope, to want to continue to keep moving forward. When you're in the military, you got to keep moving forward. That's your mission. If you're doing push-ups, you got to keep doing push-ups until you stop. Until if you're rucking, you got to keep going that mile until you're done. Just because you're rucking and you're halfway done and your body and mind says you want to stop doesn't mean you stop. You keep rucking until the mission's done. If you're in life and you have a purpose in your life to be there for your family, to be there for your friends, for your kids, for your grandkids, for your dog, for your cat, for God, for anybody, you need to keep on trucking in life and keep moving up every day and keep moving until your mission and your purpose is served and done. And you have to have that drive. And hopefully, a lot of guys who are in the military can get that drive back as a veteran so they can have a purpose to live again. I want to do something called boot camp for veterans, and pretty much it's uh it's PT, and it could be like a mental thing, a mental health thing. But we need our guys to get, you know, boot camp again. I think you can go to boot camp a few times in your life. Not just in basic, but another boot camp later on in life where you get some more time to dedicate yourself to who you were before, or the person you were, who you want to be, or the person you need to be to survive and be efficient and get the mission done and accomplish things. Because as every day moves forward, life gets harder and life slows us down. And, we need to be able to have that mindset to keep on rucking, to keep on moving in life. And so even when it gets hard, you got to get harder. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if you get knocked to your knees, you need to crawl. And if you until you get where you need to go, and then just pray and then get back up. And if you keep on moving and life knocks you down, you need to get back up and keep moving.
And I think there's
At no point should suicide be an option.
I think there's a secondary thing that comes into it too, is when you have that when you have that connection with people, you're going to be able to, as a team, realize, it's kind of like, if you notice, I just think in the field, when I used to do, you know, when I was in the guard in Virginia and we'd be doing operations or whatever, you're taking a look at people down there, you're looking at someone who's really struggling, you're looking at their feet, and, you're like looking, something's not right. Somebody's taking care of the gear, something ain't right. You pull them off the side, you say, "What's up, brother?" And you take and look at, take off the boots, and you look and they got a blister the size of, East Texas out there. And all right, man, let's take a hook you up. We'll take and figure out how to maybe we can find something for you and help you with this. I think there's a certain place with that too, is that, if we can do that for these, for the people that are struggling, that's the hard part too, is, it's like, if I can have an honest conversation with you, this is a big piece that we were talking about in a training I did the other day. It was about there's a thing called the SHIP training, which is trying to help civilian practitioners be more more capable of working with military populations. And a big part of it is a lot of people, it's difficult for a lot of people to be really direct, as far as clinician, it's not within the nature of, certain clinicians or whatever. And I think there's a certain piece with veterans where, it's like, okay, tell me what's really going on. Stop bullshitting. Sorry, excuse me. My bad. You can edit that. But give me the real story, man. Give me what's really going on here. What I'm looking at you, man, and I'm feeling something, and I think on an emotional level, there's a place where we can do that too. It's just like checking for blisters. What's really going on, and you get somebody to take and open up and be like, I haven't felt right with some stuff with my, I don't know. I think something, I ain't been sleeping, or I've been more angry, the two things of PTSD, or just dealing in general with veterans. The two things we can get a core to them is, let's figure out sleep and let's figure out anger. You want to say, you ask your buddy how they're doing. They're going to be like, "Oh, fine. Everything's fine." Oh, how's that anger doing? They'll go on that for an hour and a half, how pissed off at the world they've been for the last, whatever. That's, find the core places where we can bond in and build that conversation, and you know what, man, this is have you talked to this doc up at the clinic? There's a good doc over there, or, or have you went back and talked about there might be a place, I mean, from my perspective, if somebody's, like, well, seems like I haven't been sleeping well, and and I might be like, well, have you talked to your psychiatrist about your medications for your sleep? Maybe there's something that they could take and do. Yeah, I probably should do that, or whatever. We get some, up here in Maine, we got some decent supports there. There's good people. Maybe there's something that they can tweak on that, or what, if someone's really struggling, I mean, we've taken and hey, I don't feel comfortable with you having your firearms. I know that they're important to you and everything, but would you let me, hold on to those for you until we got you into a good space, and you'd be surprised, you'd be upfront with people and they might be like, yeah, you know what? That's a good idea, man. That's a good idea. Cause it's a brother to a brother. It's not like, it's not a social worker saying something. It's not somebody, it's a brother to a brother, in which case, let's get you back to tactical. Let's get you feeling good. When you're feeling good, we'll get it back to you, and then you can, then we'll go out and maybe we'll go out hunting together or something, but I think there's a lot of that. And, the part you mentioned about the physical exercise or boot camp, I look at it, the gym that I go to is kind of cool because, I go in there and, we got, of course, I get kind of tagged. Everybody knows what I do. And, for the most part, it's like the guy that we're talking, the 94-year-old, he works out at my gym, and he's in there. He'll show, I'll tell you, that dude will show all of us up, something about, he's in there doing pull-ups and, we got, old school, ain't been in a uniform in 20-year body, and he hasn't been in one for 70 years, and he's taken doing pull-ups. But it's an express. You see, like, these guys, we got some retirees, that were med boarded that are in the gym and stuff, and they're in the gym and they're working out, and it's really a big part of their mental health support. We got one of our people that I go into the gym and she's got her service dog there. And it's really cool because, the service dog knows me at this point. He sees me, he gets all excited, but Ryan's there watching her, keeping an eye on her. She's working out. I think there's a piece to really bringing in. I always encourage people on a mental health side, depression, anxiety, PTSD, ADHD. I don't care what you got going on. I mean, exercise is huge for me. As a clinician that, during my day job, I mean, halfway through the day, I go to the gym, I bust it out, and it helps to take and maintain the sanity that I do have, keeping, being able to take and decompress halfway through the day and just being able to take and leave it all there. Plus the positive feeling that there is when you, like you said, I don't know if I want to go back to boot camp, but for us, basic. I don't know, the heavy volume yelling. I don't know if I can handle that one anymore. I'm old enough to kind of stand up, but I think one of those deals. It's people got to get their physical components somehow. Like it was funny. One of the AGR people that was with us yesterday. She's like, "Oh yeah, I got to practice for my sled pull." Or not, I guess the new what do they call it? The new PT program used to be the APFT way back when, and they have the one where they get the dummy drag. And she's like, if I'm dragging this sled out on this ice with all this slush and everything else uphill, that's like the dummy drag. I'll be all set to go, But I mean, physical activity is huge for reduction of stress. It's colossal, okay. And I think, you look at the maladaptive ways people are dealing with stress and anxiety. It's alcohol, it's drugs, it's all of these different things that come in. Obviously, inside the military, alcohol is kind of embraced as, I mean, that's kind of one of those things, and there's a place where, being responsible is one thing, having a beverage, whatever, hanging out is one thing. And where you realize that that's not taking you anywhere. It's just making you more depressed or bogging you down, and there's a kind of this, I think there's a place with veteran, that's talk that empowerment piece. If you want to be empowered, you want to have a beer, do what you're going to do. But if you're having 12 and you're realizing that that still ain't good enough, I mean, there's a place where you might want to get into the gym or come out and find another alternative activity. Take up something that's going to take and occupy your time, embrace new opportunities, and also maybe it's time to take and talk to somebody, get out there and talk to somebody about what's going on with your substance use. Cause we know darn well that the connection between substance abuse and suicide, whether it's military or not, it's astronomical. It's just huge. I got troopers that I work with, and they're like, in my unit, since I returned from Iraq, we lost 24 guys. He said they're not all suicides. A good chunk of them are, but we got overdoses. We got all this other stuff. And just looking at people who came back and had a lifestyle that was not healthy, and we find out that they passed. So we don't know what the hell is going on. So empowering and rebuilding ourselves is going to be that key towards, doing it. That's one of those things too. Get a guy out there on the ice. It's been, dude, all right. You're dragging that sled. You're doing pretty good with that, man. Keep it, whatever. It's, I think it's, there's that piece of really building up healthy habits, I think it's important. If I didn't exercise, I'd be a train wreck,
Yeah, you got to get out there. We were all doing 22 push-ups a day for veterans suicide prevention. And, even if guys can start off doing 22 push-ups a day, and even if you can't do 22 push-ups at once, do one push-up, wait about, 20, 30 minutes, do another push-up, but try to do 22 push-ups all day.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that, along with some mental counseling, maybe some medication from your doctor, and some therapy, some with like Operation Ray of Light, you can get and not only that, but Operation Ray of Light, these guys are getting a physical workout too if they want, huh? A little bit.
If you, there's some of them. We had, we had a couple little kids out with us. One of our vets, and he's got his kids. He's dragging them across the ice on the snow and slush, and he had his two kids, and by the time they made one end of the ice, one of his kids was conked out in the truck. He got his exercise. Him and his gramps there, that was 95. They went for a nice walk down to his far out traps, checking stuff out, and and it's there is a physical aspect. If you're drilling, we've kind of tried to make it so that the drills that we have are about 10 pounds total, so that if we got people with if you got 20% for your knees, 30% for your back, whatever, however the VA math works out, 14 for your elbows, whatever, you could still drill your own holes and do that. But there's also a piece of walking down the line, checking the trap perimeter, make sure you're baited up or whatever. There's always something you can do, depending on different spots. There's different things, there is a physical component that's tied into that type of fishing. There's other, that's definitely one where there's opportunities, sometimes we'll get out there, and if right now we haven't had ice that's worthy of sleds, snowmobiles right now, but we've had times when, you got, you put a Marine and, and three kids in the sled, and you drag them around the ice, and, whatever. And there's, good, there's just a lot of cool opportunities, There's physical activity if you want to. There is a way, like right now, we've been doing everything. It's a lot of hauling stuff out. Like right now, without having our machines to do a lot of the work, we've had to go full grunt on the ice. So, that's been kind of, all right, pack it up. Let's get these sleds, put this on top of you. Who can carry this? Who can carry that? Put together the team and make sure we move, because move the whole operation out there. So there is some physical components to it for sure. But we also don't want to limit, like we said, to meet everybody where they're at. Somebody who doesn't have the capacity, we had a vet last week with, he's waiting. He's like, I got to just retire before I get my knee surgeries done. And he's got these big, huge braces on his knees. And it's like, All right, man. You just come down with, you do what you can do over here. Whatever. If you want to try to drill a hole, we'll hook you up with the drill, show you what you're doing. But we don't want you to take and come out here and get hurt. You do what you work at your own ability.
Couldn't you get a couple like sleds with some dogs hooked up to them or something, where you can get these handicapped people on some kind of sled with a dog?
It's right now with the ice conditions we've got. Typically a year ago, at this time of year, we had, a foot to we had over a foot of ice on almost every lake and pond that we went on. I mean, we had great ice last year. Right now we're scratching to get 5 inches, 5 to 6 inches, which you don't want to have a lot of, with 5 or 6 inches of good clear black ice. You're not at the ability of having, dog sled stuff is not something we see a whole lot of around here. I think it would be cool if we had somebody who had dog sleds. Anybody who takes and watches this who wants to bring out some dog sleds down to an event for Ray of Light, we'd love that. I'm sure there's a few guys, a few people that would love to go do the dog sledding thing. Southern Maine, we don't typically have as many I'm sure there's probably up Northern Maine, there's probably some more dog sled teams and stuff, or, Northern New Hampshire. I haven't seen any down here, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. But, and we ain't going to go hook up my.
That'd be neat. Yeah.
It's neat. That's the thing. I mean, when we get good ice, we got good, we got volunteers for snowmobiles and everything else. And it makes it, it makes it really cool when you can take and have a whole freaking convoy going out, next weekend, going to where we're going next weekend. We'll probably have a convoy. We'll have the side-by-side. We'll have snowmobiles. We'll have, the fire pit on skis, sleds, all that stuff coming out there. And like I said, hopefully we'll figure out how to reverse engineer that disability sled so that, once we get it, even if we got to take a brother and maybe we can figure out a way to drag him out if he's sitting on a sled. We just don't want to have, you don't want to have somebody take and fall over or something. We got to find ways to make it, maybe we need a good engineer to work for us, come up with a design.
You're going to have to strap them down with a strap, man.
Well, hey,
and tell them to hold on. But hold on, brother. He's going to be like, woo-hoo.
There's
tie it to the back of the pickup truck.
Well, that's the thing. We
drag them out there.
We can do it on the back of the snowmobile. We just need to. That's the thing, having the ice. Once we get the ice, we're good. And it's
like I said, hold on.
Just, we got a little bit of everything. So it kind of comes down to whatever works for each guy.
Whatever they're comfortable with. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you could make some harnesses, some Velcro safety harness that hooks up where he won't leave. Even if he lets go, he'll be strapped down to the sled. Some kind of a body suit, maybe a bodysuit harness that hooks into the sled or something.
Yeah, we get different, like I said, there's another organization. That's one thing we've been trying to do here in Maine too, is connecting with the other veteran organizations. Cause for a small state, we got a lot of people with a hell of a lot of passion. And, we got a group that's 40 miles up the road. They get this camp that they're building, and they've got a sled that they already had designed for one of their guys. So we were supposed to get I got to send one of my guys up to go get pictures of that thing so we can start reverse engineering, because they had their guy out there. So I'm like, you know what? They were actually going to let us use it if we had enough ice, but we just haven't had the ice to be able to drag that thing out with the sled. So, there's a will, there's a way. And, with the nonprofit side of stuff, it comes down, the only limitations of the nonprofit are the volunteers and making sure we got the fiscal ability to keep growing, and like I said, we keep working with the partnerships, other veteran organizations up here in the state that we can brother up with and get ideas from. And, and if we can't take and hook you up with something, maybe there's another group. Like we've got, we got really good groups up here in the state that I talk to on a regular basis, and we're going back and forth and passing ideas. And, so it's just one of those things, just there's always something for somebody. And, the innovation, the big innovation this year was getting that disability accessible ice shack, And the kid's getting close. It's almost there. Now we just need the ice to put it on, But I mean, that was a big thing, being able to get there. And I mean, I hope we can keep on just growing and getting more volunteers, more veterans with passion, more people that like getting outdoors or doing these different things. And if we can, that gets us into a spot where there's more and more opportunities,
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. When there's a will, there's a way, and for me, I'm a big believer of God and stuff, and I put everything in God's hands. So at the end of the day, we're here to do God's work, His will. Anything that God needs done, I ask God right now to have us do it for Him, to have us do His works, whatever it is, to use my body as a vessel for His works. And so, that's what I pray about when I do pray, when I pray to God, and to use me as a vessel, and to do, and if that's feeding the hungry, if it's feeding homeless veterans, if it's connecting with people like you, Operation Ray of Light, and helping veterans deal with their mental health issues, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to do God's will. So whatever direction God takes me, that's where I will go. And through God, anything's possible, and God will deliver, your prayers, everybody else's prayers watching. If there's anybody watching who is just hurting right now and they feel like life's just not enough and they want to end their life, just know that God wants you to live one more day. And you just need to make it one more day. And whatever it takes, calling the VA, calling Mr. Jim Doc Martel at Operation Ray of Light and talking to him, calling me, talking to me, whatever you got to do to make it through this day, do it right now. Okay. If you got to go down and call your cousin Billy and tell Billy you're sorry, do it. Whatever it is you got to do it. If you got to go call your brother, your mama, your father, your cousin, if you need to go down to the supermarket and tell Betty Sue that you think she's cute, do it right now. Okay. If that's what's going to help you make it through the day. If your problem is something else, financial, go down, talk to somebody, get your finances straight. If your problem is being homeless, there's a lot of programs out there that's going to get you to help to stop you from being homeless. Get out there and get help so you can stop being homeless. If your problem is drug addiction, get help. There is help. Okay. If it's alcoholism, there is help. Get to a meeting right now. Go out, get to a meeting, get help, get in a program, get sponsored. Okay. Work your steps. There's help out there for you guys watching. Okay. I hope we showed a ray of light to you guys today who are watching, because we do care and there are people who love you. And we're going to continue to do God's work. And we're going to continue to make sure people have the care that they need and the help is provided efficiently. And we do appreciate you, Mr. Jim Doc Martel, for joining us today. It is a pleasure, sir.
It was great being here, and thank you for the opportunity. And hopefully, this will give a great chance for people to know that there's, options and opportunities out there. And I think you're, having a format of your podcast and being able to reach out to people that we may never be able to see is a powerful thing, podcasting and using those things. So hopefully this gets out to people that will need it. And hopefully someday we can get you up here on the ice, get you up here and see how we can do with that at some point. And you take good care of yourself, and everybody take care.
Take care. And I here I salute you, sir, and thank you.
Thank you. You take care.
God bless.
God bless.